Good evening, and welcome to the 2008 OSU College of Business Dean's Distinguished Lecture. I'm Eileen Klein-Sorge, Dean of the College of Business, and on behalf of the faculty and staff of the College of Business, I welcome all of you. A special welcome to the nearly 200 Xerox employees and OSU's Provost, Sabah Randhawa. Xerox is an extremely important company to the OSU graduates, with more than 100 graduates working for Xerox over the years. As we begin our centennial year delivering business education at Oregon State University, we are extremely fortunate to have Ursula Burns come to campus and speak to our faculty, our students, and our community. I think it's also very noteworthy that given that the College of Engineering is also celebrating its centennial year, that I think having a business leader from one of the most innovative technology companies here is most appropriate. Innovation and business leadership are critical facets for our future economic development. Named as president of Xerox Corporation in April 2007, Ursula Burns worked her way up after starting at Xerox as a student intern 28 years ago. So for students in the audience who would like a foot up, this is a perfect example of how internships can jumpstart life after graduation. Ms. Burns leads an exhausting array of Xerox activities, including the global research, engineering, marketing, and manufacturing of all Xerox technology. On her watch, Xerox has launched more than 100 new products in the last 3 years, and now has the broadest product portfolio in the industry and in Xerox history. A few months ago, Ursula accepted on Xerox's behalf the esteemed National Medal of Technology, the highest honor awarded by the President of the United States to leading innovators. The award pays tribute to cherished legacy of creativity and ingenuity that continues to be the hallmark of Xerox global invention and innovation. Ursula also oversees the corporation's global accounts, information management, corporate strategy, human resources and ethics, and marketing. In addition to serving on the Xerox board, Ursula is board of director of Boston Scientific and American Express. She's been named to many lists for influential business leaders, but her greatest source of pride is her 2 children. Tonight she will be presenting her presentation, but then we'll take questions from the audience. So as she speaks, please feel free to jot down your questions and be prepared to come to the 2 microphones at the front of the room as she finishes her remarks in a bit. So please join me in welcoming Ursula Burns.
Thank you, Eileen, for inviting me here today. And I'm really pleased that I accepted the invitation because this is an easy one for me. It is easy because I owe OSU a couple of thanks, a couple of thank yous. The first is you are a great customer of Xerox, and we really appreciate that. We work really hard. We work really hard to earn your business. We obviously cherish it, and we want to earn even more. I looked around the print shop and saw lots and lots of opportunity for Xerox to get more business. So the first is that you're a good customer, continue to be a good customer of ours, and thank you for that. The second is that OSU has graduated some of the finest engineers that Xerox has. And at our little operation down the street from here in Wilsonville, Oregon, we have about 60 OSU graduates who are currently employed at Xerox. Many of them are obviously down the street here in Wilsonville, and many of them are working on one of the most exciting technologies that Xerox has in the marketplace today, in its array of technologies. Engineering is the way that Xerox started. It is our heritage, and 60 of your guys are helping us to have that continue to be a hallmark for our company. As I mentioned earlier to Ron Adams, I spent about an hour with Ron earlier, that it's actually a great partnership, and I want to be able to expand that even more as we go on. So we're going to work to try to get more and more connections to OSU going forward. And that's why I'm here to talk to you. I'm here to talk to you today about some lessons that we learned at Xerox Corporation about leadership, about people and the importance of people, about partnerships, and about energy and focus. It's a story that I've told many times before, and it's a story about our bad times to our good times. It's the journey from a bad time, a bad set of times in 2000 to a relatively good set of times today. The magic of this tale is that it applies not only to business, because we obviously lived through it, but I think it applies to just about any institution that employs people, any institution that has an asset base that's focused in people. So let me set a realistic expectation for you today. I'm going to tell you a story about our journey. We clearly don't have all of the answers. We clearly are not finished with the journey, but I think that you'll be able to learn from the ride that we have been on, and it's been quite a ride. So during our time today, I'll tell you about the ride, tell you where Xerox has been over the last few years and where we're going in the future, and some of the lessons that we've learned throughout that time. Then, as the dean said, I really, really, really require that we have questions at the end, because my 20 minutes up here will not be fruitful for me if you don't actually ask me some questions about just about anything that's on your mind. About 7 years ago, Xerox confronted one of the most serious business crises in our history, and if you actually study business or even farther back than that, one of the most serious business crises of any business for a long time, and we survived it. And I'll give you the abbreviated summary of how we did that. In 1998, we were doing really, really well. Xerox was doing very well. Our market share was strong and improving. Our competition was weak and weakening. The economy was strong. We were capitalizing on that strength. And our stock price was outpacing the market by a fair amount. And we had changed our leader. We had changed our CEO, and that leadership change seemed to be going fairly well. So I remember when I was sitting there, I said, things are not bad. This is not a bad place to be. Or so we thought. We thought everything was going okay, but we were surprised. With alarming speed, things started to turn around in 2000, turn around for the worst. We attempted to make a whole lot of change in our culture, in our go-to-market processes, in everything in our company. We tried to do that too fast. Competition actually picked up a bit. Economies around the world started to soften a bit, and we were knocked off of our feet. And if you look today at some of the decisions that we made during that time, so we say hindsight is 20/20, the decisions that we made in the broad light of day back then were actually really dumb. So by 2000, we were in really deep trouble. I remember some of the meetings in 2000, really deep trouble. Revenue was dropping, profit was declining to the point where we had very little profit, and to the point we had actually none. We were losing money. Cash on hand was shrinking. We had no cash after a while. Debt was mounting, and we got up to about $15 billion of debt on a $15 billion revenue base, not a very good place to be. Customers were really irate and defecting, and employees were also defecting and irate as well. Our shareholders saw the value of their shares go from a high of 60 to a low, what we thought was a low at the time, of about $25 or $30 a share. At the same time, I was heading up our manufacturing operations, our worldwide manufacturing operations. And we were in the midst of yet another leadership change. So that leadership change that we thought had gone so well actually hadn't. And we changed the leader again to the current CEO that we had, and we named Ann Mulcahy the president and COO of the company. And that's when we had just acquired this great business down the street from Tektronix, the color imaging and printing division of Tektronix, and brought that into the company. Imagine how they felt when they, a couple of months after being in the company, joined this great company. These guys are sitting out here and know the story. Great company, $60 stock. We were really proud of what's going on, and within a couple of months, we had flipped this company around, this great Xerox company around, to a place that was hemorrhaging on just about every single front. During the time of this acquisition, the pressure was on for all of us to turn the company around. Every one of us had to roll up our sleeves and build a whole new business model. We had to roll up our sleeves and not only save Xerox, because that was not the goal that we had. We wanted to make sure that after we were through the journey that we were headed into, that we had a business that was positioned for long-term success. Fortunately, we had two things going for us. It's interesting how we knew these two things before, a long time ago in our history, but we had forgotten them during our successful times. Two things. We had two aces in the hole. The first was an extremely loyal customer base that wanted Xerox to. These are the same customers that we were letting down on a day-to-day basis during this tough time. We were letting them down all the time, and they told us when we spoke to them, listen, we're willing to hang with you if you guys can give us some clear value and a path for success going forward. So the first was an amazing customer base. And the second ace in the hole was an incredibly loyal and committed and extremely talented workforce. And these people love Xerox, and they would do just about anything to make sure that this company succeeded going forward. Fortunately for us, these two assets, all based in people, were on our side. Fast forward to today. So a lot of stuff happened. 2000 debt, losses, irate customers and defections, share declines. Today, on the liquidity front, through this time, we sold more than $2.5 billion, $2.5 billion of non-core assets. Now, I always pause here and say, you would say to yourself, how do you have a company that gets $2.5 billion of non-core assets in the first place that you can actually get rid of? I don't know the story of all of that, but we got rid of these $2.5 billion of non-core assets. We outsourced manufacturing, something that we couldn't do extremely well. We outsourced it to a partner who could do it better than we could. We exited one of our businesses, the inkjet business. It was a business that was losing money, and we got out of it. We focused on operational cash flow in the business, basic operational business excellence we focused on. We had a disciplined management for inventory and for collecting on our receivables. And on the cost front, we eliminated $2 billion of cost from our business, $2 billion in 2 years we eliminated. We dramatically reduced our inventory. I was running manufacturing at the time. We had $2.6 billion of inventory, turning at about 2 turns a year when we started the journey. And we got down to about $1.1 billion of inventory, turning at about 5 turns a year. And that still is nowhere near greatness. On the capital spending, we reduced our capital spending significantly. We reduced our SG&A spending as well. And we reduced, unfortunately, our worldwide employment levels by about 50%. We went from 100,000 people working at Xerox at its height to about 50,000 people working at Xerox today. That part was extremely painful. But it was a necessary step that we had to take to make sure that we could recover. And as a result of those actions by these great people that worked for us and these great customers who were willing to stick with us, we cut our debt by $10 billion. We're essentially a debt-free company today. We maintain an extremely strong cash position. We throw out about $1.5 billion of cash a year. We were downgraded to junk status during this big problem, and we've been returned to investment grade by all the rating agencies and put on positive watch by one. We turned the corner on revenue growth. We're growing revenue again. We acquired 4 companies in the last 18 months. We're delivering double-digit earnings every year. We've met our expectations for 20 of the last 21 quarters. And we're a good company again. The amazing thing, we're proud of all of those financial metrics, all of those good financial numbers. What gives us the greatest satisfaction, though, is that in the progress that we've made in strengthening our core business, we also kept control and kept hold of our greatest growth lever, and that was our technology. So during this time, during the worst times, I remember sitting in a meeting with investment bankers. We had 4 investment bankers, and we had a couple of attorneys that were helping to advise us about how to get through this. Some of the people said file for bankruptcy. There was a lot of different suggestions that we had. One of the suggestions was that you could actually generate $1 billion more in cash immediately and $1 billion more in profit immediately if we cut our research, development, and engineering spending. Because as you guys know, if you don't know, I'll explain it to you, you invest in R&D today, and a couple of years from then, so a couple of years from today, you may get a product from it. You may, if your engineers are pretty good. One way to actually fix your spending base is to eliminate research and development and engineering funding, and in a couple of years after that, you'll be okay, but down the path, you will actually not have a company any longer. We made the decision during this very, very darkest time to not touch our RD&E spending. We knew that Xerox was a technology company, and we wanted to make sure that as we got out of this trouble, that we didn't just survive as a company, that we didn't just kind of hop along, that we wanted to make sure that we had a company that thrived, that we could leave to our children and our children's children. So we bit the bullet, and we continue to invest in innovation, to actually at the same level as we invested before the troubled times. And we're really glad that we did. Dean told you that in the last 3 years, we've launched over 100 new product offerings. 2/3 of our revenue in any given year is generated from a product that was launched less than 2 years before. So we continually renew Xerox and continually add value to our customers. In the heat of the crisis, we also launched a whole new business. It's called our Xerox Global Services business. We took the step to invest. We knew that we couldn't stand still. And this service provides document management expertise to enterprises large and small. Something that we know about, something that we're really good at. We launched this business, and it now accounts for $3.5 billion of our revenue in less than 7 years. It is still a remarkably tough business out there, really tough business environment, and challenges are everywhere. And today, with the subprime crisis and the weakening of the economy, it's even worse than it has been before. But we are poised for greatness and for success. We've pulled ourselves back from the brink of bankruptcy and taught ourselves that we can do just about anything we aspire to do if we work hard and put our head down. And we learned 6 things throughout this turnaround, 6 things that you should write down. It works in your family, I think. It works clearly in business. It would probably work in an educational institution as well. First, we learned about the power of communications. In the toughest time, it is the most important time to be the frankest and the most straightforward and honest communications. Have those communications with the people, the constituents that you serve. So honest, straightforward communication is amazing. So what we did was we said to our partners all over, employee partners, I have a union that is a major portion of our employee base that we had to bargain with through this tough time. Here's the conversations that we had with all of our constituents. Here's the problem. Here's the strategy. Here's what you can do to help us out of the trouble. You have a choice to make. You can either leave Xerox, and we'll help you do that, or you can roll up your sleeves and get to work and saving the company that we love. Those are the 2 choices. Here's all the reality we have about the problems. And we were amazed at how much buy-in we got. The response was overwhelming. Defections slowed to a trickle. We had a huge turnover problem, as you could probably imagine. Energy returned, and our people truly turned around this company. If you ask myself, if you ask our CEO, Ann Mulcahy, or the leadership team, what the big basic cause for the success is, they'll tell you that the people of Xerox worked tirelessly to rescue Xerox and reinvent our brand. And by the way, if you haven't seen a new brand, go to www.xerox.com and you'll see our new brand that we just launched Monday. So anyway, it's a paid political announcement for that part. So the first thing we learned was communication, honest communication, fairly basic tenet, something that we do less and less, that we must do more and more, especially in a time of crisis. Second thing that we learned is the power of a culture. This was another amazing set of input that we got from all of the consultants that came to help us turn our company around. They said that the thing you had to do was throw your culture out. It was no good. The culture was no good. It was too slow. It was too bureaucratic. It was too egalitarian. It was too everything. What we found out is that you cannot blame the culture when things go bad. After all, the culture are the people in the company. And if you throw out the culture, you're essentially throwing out the people in the company. We are the culture, after all. Instead, what we did is took a really hard look at the things that were great about the culture and wanted to keep those and strengthen those. And in that look, found the things that were really bad about the culture and what we had to change. So don't throw it out. You have to morph it for the times, but culture is really important. We worked hard to leverage the good, really hard to leverage the good. Things like diversity, teamwork, collaboration, frank talking. We're a really relaxed company. We leveraged the good things and tried to eliminate the bad things. Things like slowness, this never-ending ability to question a decision that has been made. Work on eliminating those things while you strengthen and keep the things that are really good. So the second thing was culture. Culture is actually good, and you can't just throw it out with the wave of a hand. The third thing that we learned is that you have to have a vision on where you want to go. Employees especially need, so in this case, students and faculty, prospective students, really need to know what they are signing up for in a journey. Instead of getting caught up in fancy vision statements and consulting us with a new structure of our vision and a whole bunch of charts that we hung on walls, we did a simple thing. We wrote a newspaper article about ourselves that we wanted to read a couple of years from now. So we had been reading a whole bunch of really bad articles about Xerox in the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times almost every day. There was something bad about Xerox. So what we decided to do was to make a mock-up of a newspaper front page with the theme of the front page being Xerox and what great work Xerox people were doing, how great our financial performance was, how great we were interacting in the community, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That newspaper article was our vision statement. No fancy words, just a story about how Xerox looked when we were doing better. So that's the third thing. It's all about having a vision and make it really simple for people to understand. The fourth thing that we learned, we knew this, by the way, and lost sight of it a little bit, is the power of people. Good people aligned around a common goal could do just about anything, for sure. I mean, this for sure. When people asked us, what was the secret? You must have had this great strategy. You must have had this great implementation plan. That's how you got out of trouble. We say strategy is good, and a good strategy is good. You need a good strategy. But it doesn't have to be perfect. A great implementation plan is good. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you have great people aligned around a common goal, it can overcome just about any barrier put in front of it. So people, back to the basics of valuing your people, preparing your people to deal with problems, talking to them so that they can understand, and assuring that you understand that they are human and have frailties as well. So the fourth thing that we learned is the power of people aligned around a great and common objective. The fifth thing that we learned is that the customer is the center of just about everything. I was speaking to Dr. Adams about this earlier. So first you got to find out who your customer is in an educational institution that's largely the student base. We had lost sight of who the customer really was. We were spending time with investors, a lot of time with the press. We were spending a lot of time not with the people who actually paid the bills every day. We had to refocus on that simple thing and not forget what matters the most. Employees will lose jobs if we forget about the customer. Shareholders will clearly lose value if you forget about the customer. The brand will definitely deteriorate if you forget about the culture. and the firm will spiral out of control. So the fifth thing is you have to remember who you're serving and make sure that 99% of your decisions are focused on who you are serving. There are two pieces of research that are amazing about this subject that comes up over and over again. J.D. Powers talks about it a lot, and they do the research over and over again, and no matter how they look at it, from what prism they look at it, they see the same results. Across industries and around the world, if you can retain 5% more of your current customer base than you currently do, so if you have a retention rate of 20% and you can increase that to 25%, if you can do that, your bottom line profits will grow anywhere from 25 to 50%. Simple thing. So you have the customer today, and all you want to do is hold those guys, 5% more of those guys than you did in the past. If you can do that, your profits will grow exponentially. The second thing is that it takes 5 times as much money or more money, 5 times more money and effort to attract a new customer than to hold your old customer. So, simple. Car companies know this. They don't do it very well, but they do know it, that retaining a customer for their brand, and for Xerox, it's retaining a customer for our brand, is significantly more profitable, takes significantly less effort than getting a new customer. By the way, we also want all the new customers as well. Now, all of us in the business world know these two things. They're kind of intuitive. It's amazing how few people behave like this. And I'm going to use an airline story. Whenever I get to this, I always use an airline story. When you fly on an airline, if an airline can get equity with their airline, imagine how profitable they will be, because you will not shop, as we shop today, as aggressively for price. You will go with your airline because they know who you are, they treat you specially, and you have a relationship with them. Airlines today have become the ultimate of commodities. So very little brand loyalty in the airline. It's all about price, and it is therefore very, very difficult for an airline to become and stay profitable. That's a business that you don't really want to be in, even though we do need lots more airlines or better airlines than we have today. So that's one of the things that got Xerox in trouble a few years ago. We made some decisions that clearly were not based on the customer. Some of the decisions were based on technology. We had some great technology, and we just wanted to sell it to people. We didn't ask them whether they actually were interested in having what we were selling. We just thought it was a great thing to sell. We had some interactions with our customers that were clearly not customer-focused. If they had a problem, we treated them like they were the problem versus listening to their problem set. Since then, we've been on a mission to make every customer our priority, every single customer our priority, a major piece of our life. And as an executive, a major piece of my time is focusing directly on customer engagements and making sure that I can understand where the touch points, where the pain points are for our company, for our customers. We've made customers the foundation of our strategy. And finally, the last thing that we learned is the value of leadership. Now, until you come face to face with a really bad leader, you don't know how important good leadership is. We had the benefit of having a really bad leader and a really good leader as well. Poor leadership can do serious damage almost overnight. Good leadership, leadership that is consistent, that's honest, that's forceful and clear, can move mountains. Bad leadership can mess it up instantaneously. Unfortunately, good leadership takes time to fix it, but it is a great motion when it starts. To be honest with you, I don't read a lot of business books at all. And when I was in Dr. Adams' office, I saw this book, which I have read, one of the few business books that I've read. I'm sorry, Dean, I don't read business books. And it's Jim Collins' book, Good to Great. How many people have read it in the audience? Good. It's also well written, so it's kind of easy to read, which makes it good. And the thing I liked about the book is that I said it's well written, and the message was really clear, and it's something that resonated with me. He looked at companies with great results, companies whose cumulative stock returns were at least 3 times better than the general market over a 15-year period. And as a person who leads a business, that's a really, really tough hurdle, a very high hurdle to jump. Only a handful of companies actually fit into this bucket of companies, met the criteria. And then he looked at what made these companies great. The not so surprising answer was the quality of the company's leadership, not the quality of the company's product. You clearly had to have good things to sell. Not the quality of the company's strategy. You had to have a reasonable one of those. Not the quality of the company's implementation plan. That had to be okay as well. The differentiator was the quality of the company's leadership. But here's what was really surprising. The difference between a good leader or even a really good leader, and what he called a great leader is a blend of personal humility and professional will. So not huge IQ, not great speaking prowess, humility and will. Great leaders, he says, are self-effacing. They give credit to others. They are stoic in their resolve to do whatever it takes to make their enterprise succeed. Their ambition is first and foremost about the firm or the enterprise, not about themselves. They're great leaders because they lead great companies that have great people, something every person should aspire to be and to do. I think at Xerox we have one of the best leaders in American business today. Her name is Ann Mulcahy. And if you get to know her, she fits into this bucket of unbelievable will, very self-effacing, team-building leader, amazing person. A couple of years ago, I had the honor of hosting one of my favorite authors. Her name is Quindlen. She's a Newsweek columnist, and she writes books, many books, and she speaks at an event that Xerox throws every year, that Xerox gives every year, and it's a caucus group event for women. So we have a women's leadership group, and she came in to speak to this group. She spoke about a lot of different things, and she shared her mantra, which resonates so much with me and so well with me. And it is simply the following 5 words. It's rise up and reach down. And leaders do just that. Rise up and reach down. Do everything you can to embrace opportunity. This is you as an individual. Do everything you can to embrace opportunity. Work hard and deliver results, and make sure that you focus on the firm first. And as you as an individual succeed, and as you as a company succeed, encourage other companies to succeed. Collaborate, pull companies along with you. Great leadership is the key to the success of a company. And as I said before, I think that we have one of the best leaders out there. It was a really good lesson for me, this whole idea about making sure that you have great people, making sure that you actually align and communicate all the time, making sure you pay attention to your customers, things that I already knew, things that I knew for sure, that we had to practice every single day. At Xerox, we are still a really long way from what I would call being a great company, a really long way. But we have, without a doubt, made some significant changes in our company that are noteworthy. Our management team has been tested. We've learned from our mistakes, for sure. We feel that there is no task too large or even too small. And if we stay together and we stay focused and we continue to attract great people, and if we continue to cultivate these great people, that we can win over the best competition out there. At Xerox, we have very few egos, which is something that we also had to learn. You had to check those at the door when you go through serious troubles. Very few egos, and we're focused on the customer. And with that, I'll step off my soapbox. And thank you guys for listening over the last, I think, hopefully 20 minutes or so. And thank you for your support. And hope that every single one of you who are students in here graduate. I know that that's actually kind of a given. And that after you graduate, that you give us a call. Actually, do it before you graduate. Do it a year or 2 before you graduate. Give us a call, because we're always looking for great Xerox employees. And OSU has been a great source, and we want to continue that happening. And congratulations to 100 years. I've been alive at exactly half of those 100 years. So here's to another 100 years of developing great students, great companies, great technology, great legacy, and making a positive difference every single day. Now I enjoy hearing from all of you and I'd love to have your questions. Any question is fair except for what the stock price will be tomorrow. Thank you. Just say your name when you speak it. That'd be good.
Please, feel free.
Hi,
Hi.
my name's Jerry Fong, and that was a great speech.
Thank you.
I thought, I used to work for HP, so a lot of your comments struck me as, relevant to many companies, not just Xerox.
Absolutely.
So my question is, what do you see as the challenges in the future for Xerox, which I think your response will probably apply to other companies as well?
I think that one of the things that I always look at and worry about, so these are like the things that you stay awake at night thinking about. There's some very specific internal Xerox technology or profit or whatever issues. I'm not going to speak about those at a higher level. One of the most important things, and the things I worry a lot about, is how we're going to get the talent that we need in the future to keep our company going. And I was speaking about this, one of the things I'm really passionate about is education. And the reason why I got passionate about it is that a couple of years ago, when we started to come out of the troubled times, we were trying to recruit engineers. And I was surprised at how difficult it was to recruit them. And I thought it was because we were located in Rochester, New York. You know, it's not the most glamorous place in the world, and people don't want to necessarily go there and work. That's what I thought. And it turned out to not be so. In some of the skills that we needed, we just didn't have enough graduates in the United States with the skills that we needed to fill the jobs that we had. And it clicked for me, this was about 7 or 8 years ago, it clicked for me that we have a fundamental problem, which we had been hearing about, of educating, assuring that we have educated, ready to work, something that you guys know about, people to fill the jobs that we have. So, by the way, I'm not on this alone. Every company in America is trying to deal with this, especially if you're a technology-based company. So one of the things I worry about is the ability for us to get talented, ready to work, able people to fill the jobs that we have and solve the problems that we have. The second problem is we talk about the fact that that the world is small, the world is flat, and is the ability that we have as a company to actually operate effectively globally, partner well with people all over the world, to do business effectively around the world as the world gets smaller and smaller. We're pretty good at this, by the way. We actually have made a lot of investments in technology and people to assure that we can be prepared for this, but it's moving faster and faster, and the competition is getting more and more difficult. The third thing I worry about has nothing to do with business. It has to do with the world. We have huge problems in the world that are limiting success for most of the population of the world. And if we don't solve those problems, then a great Xerox Corporation or a great HP or a great IBM will serve such a small percentage of the population of the world that we will have other battles to fight, and I don't even mean physically fight. We'll have so many other challenges that we'll not be able to enjoy the fruits of the successes of all of these great places. So we have to be able to distribute wealth better than we distribute it today, serve people better than we serve today. So too much of the excellence of the great things that are available in the world are still reserved for too few. So my third issue is how do we actually balance this a little bit better so that we have a better world as we go forward.
Thank you.
Yes, hi Ursula. My name is Ed.
Ed.
I'm not actually a business student, I'm an agriculture student.
Okay.
And as I was listening to you, I'm wondering how does a worldwide corporation with roots all over the world, economic roots, physical roots almost, how does the corporation that large deal with the potentials of climate change in terms of survivability, in terms of being able to anticipate how you can maintain the integrity of the company? Basically, that's essentially my question.
By the way, it's a great question.
Okay,
it's a great
thanks.
question. And it's one, so the question is, we are an enterprise that that's goal is to make money and serve our customers. How the hell do we do that around the world without destroying the world? How do we do it in such a way that actually is more than being benign and not destroying the world, but how do we do it in such a way that actually adds value, that does not take more than we give? We have, one of the things that our operation in Wilsonville does, one of the technologies that they developed before we bought them, actually Dr. Adams was integral in developing it, is a technology, and I'm only using this as an example of one of the basic ways you can do it, and I'll talk a little bit more global. We have a technology that is called solid ink technology. It's basically, if you don't know it, you should get to know it real quickly, right? And it's a printing technology that actually is a low waste technology. It requires less of everything to actually have it operate. And when we started working on this technology, we loved it because it was cool, it was innovative, we had it, no one else really had it, we practiced it very well. What we found out over time, and the engineers knew, but we started to actually develop and clarify the value that we had in our hand, was that this was a significantly more ecologically favorable technology. So the waste that is created in doing our business and enabling our customers to do their business with this technology is significantly less than with other technologies that do the same type of thing. So we spend a lot of energy. This is an example of a technology that we have. We spend a lot of time developing technologies that do that going forward. So we have low fiber paper, for example, a paper that uses less trees to make the paper. We do a lot of work in nanotechnology. So we actually work in technologies to try to figure out a way to operate our business, generate revenue, serve our customers, and use less of everything that's destructive. That's on one side. On the other side, we are really involved, a lot of my time, a lot of Ann's time, a lot of our senior management time, on policy making and standard setting bodies, and collaborations between NGOs, non-government organizations, and government organizations to try to set climate management standards. I, for example, sit on the US CAP, United States Climate Action Program. I'm a member of that. And that's not an organization that just sits and determines paperwork. We literally set standards for ourselves, for our companies to use less energy, to use less water, for example, in running our businesses, to make sure that we can actually be better going forward. Your question is one of the most important questions that businesses deal with today. How do we operate our business, serve our constituents, our customers, our shareholders, and our community in such a way that at the end of 100 years from now, we can actually say we still have a good place to live? That's not hot. It's not as hot. It's not hot. It could be warm, but it just can't be as hot as it's getting, right? Hope I answered your question.
My name is Quindlen.
What is it?
Quindlen.
Quindlen.
As a Xerox employee for the past 12 years, we've gone through several adjustments to our brand and our identity. And as you stated on Monday, we have a new marketing brand identity. I wanted to know what would be different about this brand than the past that we had, and how will this take Xerox to the next level?
Yeah. Also a good question. As I said earlier, we launched a new brand, branding. The brand is still Xerox Corporation, but we changed our brand mark, and we did that after the journey that we had been through. We did it not because there was a crisis or because the old brand was bad or because it was tainted at all. What we realized was that over the last 7 years, Xerox had gone through so much to change its company. And our employees know it, they're living with it every day. Our current customers know it. And we were trying to figure out a way to communicate Xerox the new. And what's Xerox the new? Significantly more flexible than Xerox the old. Xerox the new, a little bit more hipper than Xerox the old, et cetera. A little bit more young, a little bit younger than Xerox the old, a little bit more approachable than Xerox the old. So, that's where we are today. That's where we are today as a company. And what we wanted to do is make our brand represent where we are today as a company, not only be aspirational, but to kind of set a punctuation mark to end a journey, but also to start a journey going forward. And so we brought it together on Monday to say all of the vestiges of the bad things during the turnaround are done. We're back, we put a dividend back, we investment grade, we're growing revenue, profit, we have very little debt and inventory, so on and so forth. How do we actually communicate that we have made a significant shift in our company? And how we communicate that was by rebranding, by changing the brand look, the brand mark. And I think that the feedback that we've gotten so far has been very, very positive. But it's all about the work that we do every day. So we can't stop now and say, well, we changed the brand so we don't have to do anything to represent the brand. We have to continue to represent the brand so that as we go forward, that when you look back, that thing that you see, we actually are living that flexible, approachable, customer-centric, vibrant, lively brand.
Hi, my name is Sarah, and I feel like this is deja vu because I saw you here in this very auditorium on Saturday morning when you were broadcasting from NASA Live TV for the first launch.
Yes,
yes,
thank you.
We were here in Corvallis, watching in LaSalle's auditorium, and when I saw you were going to be here Thursday, I could not resist the chance to come here and say hello and talk to you about FIRST, robotics program.
Right.
And I think it really, the best thing for business students, I'm a former business student, to know is that people is the most important part of your talk. And not being able to find qualified engineers out of the undergraduate level. And we have a very interesting dilemma here with the Corvallis High School FIRST team. One of Xerox's competitors locally was a big sponsor for years of our high school team. Our high school team made it to the finals in Atlanta last year. Our high school team.
there.
Oh, okay, awesome. Well, it was Team 997, and they were teamed up with DreamWorks from Woodside, California.
Yep.
They did not win because of just whatever. But anyhow, but they made it to Atlanta, and the competitor dropped our funding this year, which is always a bummer because the local school district never has money. So fundraising is always an answer. So I see an opportunity if maybe to ask if Xerox wants to be our corporate sponsor with just a few $1,000s. You get your name on the T-shirt, on the robot, and it's wide open, and it's a big competitor. Nevertheless, the issue of why the corporation, I want to be respectful, dropped their support is because they wanted to have one elite team for Corvallis instead of each high school have their own team. And our high school team is very inclusive, and any kid that wants to be a part of the robotics team can, as long as they come and do something. And we have numerous quote-unquote learning disabled members of our team that made it to Atlanta, Georgia. And you know what a tough time it is to be a teenager, and you know how competition is rough on high schoolers with, elite colleges. And so the corporation that was funding us and is not funding us for the next year is they say, well, we want the best and the brightest. We need efficiency. And this is, kind of floors me because I think this is part of the problem why the U.S. may not continue to be innovative if we get this best and the brightest mentality and you're not pulling from the pool of young people.
Right.
So this conservative judgment thing. So I will get off my soapbox and just ask what your involvement is with FIRST and if you're looking for any local teams to sponsor in Oregon.
So let me tell you, by the way, let me tell you about FIRST, first of all. FIRST is for Inspiration and Recognition in Science and Technology. It's an organization started by a gentleman named Dean Kamen. Most of you probably heard of Dean. He's done the iBot, he's done the Segway machine, portable dialysis machine, potable water machine, amazing guy, an inventor. Started the organization because he realized, he met a gentleman who was a Nobel Prize winner. And he spoke to this guy and he said, well, where's your Nobel Prize? And the guy said, it's in the closet. And he said, well, why is it in the closet? He said, because nobody cares about the Nobel Prize. Nobody knows who we are. So he did this little test. He went around to some of his friends and some students and he said, who won the Super Bowl? And they told him who. These kids told him who won the Super Bowl and who was the quarterback of the Super Bowl team. And same thing for basketball, who won the basketball. And they all knew. And he said to them, he asked them, who won the Nobel Prize for physics? And if the kids knew what the Nobel Prize was, and they didn't know that there was a Nobel Prize for physics, none of the people could answer the question ever, anybody who answered it, who had won it. He decided that he was going to fix that problem, and so he started this organization called FIRST. It started in 1992. Xerox has been a sponsor, so here's the involvement. We have been a founding sponsor since day one. Our past chairman was the chairman of the board for 6 years. I am on the board of directors and have been on the board of directors of FIRST for 8 years. We fund now, fully sponsor 4 teams. So we are the sponsor for 4 teams. We do not have, and the spirit of FIRST is not about elitism at all. It's not about the best and the brightest at all, even though we'll take those guys as well. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the best and the brightest. But it is about whomever we can, it's primarily about underserved people. We want to make sure that we get for underserved youth the chance to see what engineering is about and how exciting it can be, and how we do that is to have them have real life experiences, spend real life time with real life engineers, and they can see that it's a really reasonable, fun, problem-solving career. As far as can we fund another team, can we help another team, I'll answer without an answer and say that you should connect with our Wilsonville, Oregon site, and they'll get you through all of the correct places to see whether or not we can help. We do spend and sponsor a lot of FIRST activities, teams, and fully fund teams and fund FIRST in general on a central basis. It's one of the most amazing activities that we currently have underway. I love it. It's one of my passions, FIRST. So I'll go over here and then come back over here.
Hi, how you doing, Ursula? My name is Clayton Hires.
Clayton.
Yes, I guess my question is, you had spoke of a new division you have of Xerox. There was a global marketing or consulting
Global
division.
services.
Global services. I was just kind of curious if you could expand on that a little bit, just what kind of things that division does. I guess I have a hard time picturing you kind of teaching like HP, your new solid ink technology or something like that.
Okay, go ahead, sorry.
And also, I was kind of curious as far as you were talking about you're having a difficult time finding qualified engineers and employees for Xerox. What kind of programs or initiatives do you take to find qualified people, internships, job fairs? What type of things do you have coming up?
Right. So first on the strategy and the business that I spoke about, we have 4 planks to our strategy. The first is one, it's about making sure that we lead in color everywhere. Second is to make sure that we actually transform the business of printing, the new business of printing, and transform it using digital technology, and you guys are good customers for us there. The third is to make sure that we actually participate effectively in small and medium business. It's the fastest growing segment of the business, and one that Xerox hadn't historically participated in as much as we should. And the fourth is this business that we call Xerox Global Services. And it's to assure, if you think about a lot about business of the past that Xerox did and even our competitors did, we developed pieces of hardware that did things, made lots of pages fast and whatever, and we sold them to customers, and then we left them. And then when it broke, we went in and fixed it. We still do a lot of that business, by the way. It's still very, very valuable. What we found out in that journey of growing our business in this kind of hardware technology model and even software model is that customers actually didn't really care a whole lot about any of our technology, some of them. They just wanted their problem solved. And their problem was they had a lot of documents, copy documents, or digital documents that were all over the place, that were hard to manage, that they couldn't manage the content that they had in their enterprise well. And they were spending a lot of time doing that versus making drugs, doing that versus teaching kids, whatever their business was. We started a business to take that burden of document and content management off of them and put it onto us, because that's what we do. That's what our technology does very well. That's what we've grown up on, is understanding how the documents flow, how do you best store them, how do you best archive them, what technology can you put in place to make it easier to manage your documents. So our Xerox Global Services business is a business focused on that, that problem, solving that problem for customers. As far as how do we attract students, first of all, we work in organizations like FIRST, in organizations like the National Academy Foundations, in organizations like the Xerox Science Consultant Program to make sure that we start earlier than college to get people interested in science and technology, but also in law, we hire lawyers, and in marketing, we hire marketing, but in science and technology for this discussion. So we start earlier by engaging with the students earlier, and then we have every mechanism you could think of. We do college fairs, we absolutely have internships, we work with societies, National Society of Black Engineers, Society of Hispanic, you name it. We reach out on the web, in monster.com, in newspapers, every way that you can possibly imagine. What we found is that if we can engage with students earlier by getting a relationship with a college or colleges, many colleges, the better chance we have in getting access to students who will stay with our company. And so we spend a lot of time actually engaging with universities and having partnerships with universities so we can get access to their students. But every other way possible as well. By the way, foreign students, so everything you can imagine. By the way, the way that we fill the gap, and a lot of other companies fill the gap when this gap exists, is we bring foreign students on board. By the way, it's fine with us. We think it's a good way as well to get access to the best and the brightest in the world. So, you.
Hello. My name is Christina.
Christina.
You've mentioned added value a couple of times tonight. I wonder if you could define added value and perhaps give an example of how you employ it at Xerox.
I think when I refer to added value, it's about everything. So, and I'll use an employee in a job as an example of how we think about added value and how we move it forward. And there's business ways that are clear, and business ways that you have a problem, you solve the problem, that's how you add value. But in a job and in development, I'll give you an example of this. One of the discussions that we have a lot with our younger people who come into the company is their career progression, their career path. And the discussions always start with, so what do you want to do? And they say, well, I would like to be the president of the company or the CEO. They generally don't say the president, they say, I want to be the CEO. And I say, or they want to be the vice president of something. They want to be the vice president. I say, of what? And they say, it doesn't matter what. Anything is fine. I'll just take the vice president of anything. And so my conversation with them is, in order for you to be a valuable employee to Xerox, you must add value. And how do you add value? When you first get a job, leading an organization, managing a project, you take over that job, and generally you don't know where the bathroom is, you're confused, you take away value when you first start, because you just don't know a whole lot. And you start under the curve, right? So you're under the curve, and all the area under the curve is the negative area under the curve. After a month, hopefully a very short time, sometimes it takes people a lot longer than that. If it takes you too long, then we fire you. But if it's reasonable time, then you start to actually do the job fairly well. And that's fine. And that's when people come to me the second time and they say, well, I've been doing my job now for a year and a half and I'm ready to leave. And I said, but you still owe me all that area under the curve that you had, right? Because all you did was, now you're just doing the job like normal, but you're still, the integral of that, the average of that area is still negative. So you have to now transform your role, your task, what your team, leave something behind, add fundamental, incremental value, and then you can leave. And then you actually are riding above the curve, and then you're equal, and when you're equal, then you can leave. So when I speak about added value, I speak about it from that context in everything. In everything. When we speak to our customers, it's not about just getting their business. It's about helping them to create value as they go forward. When you take a role, it's about changing, adding significantly different bells and whistles, not bells and whistles to your team so that they can actually be significantly better. And adding value is the fundamental thing that you do when you work. It's a fundamental thing that strive for all organizations to do when they work, including the new small engineer who wants to be the vice president. So hopefully I answered your question.
My name is Josh. Good evening.
Josh, how are you?
Good, thank you. Xerox has sort of long been known as sort of an engineering mecca, and a lot of ideas get generated there. And I was just wondering how, with all of those ideas, Xerox management keeps the product lines focused and helps eliminate product overlap and things of that ilk.
Actually, good question, and we do it better than we've ever done it before. In the past, we had a problem of actually generating ideas, great ideas, and letting them go without capitalizing on them at all. So we didn't have the problem of overlap. We had the problem of not capturing them at all. We have fortunately figured out ways through directing our research a little bit more tightly. We still have a lot of open research, so not all of our research is directed very tightly. But for research that gets to be a product and then moves on to something that's valuable to a customer, if it's not something that is core to our strategy, we actually have ways to capitalize on them by licensing that technology or spinning off businesses, which we have done. As far as overlap goes, we have lines of business that manage our R&D, RD&E portfolios, and a lot of collaboration between those lines of business to assure that we don't have spaces totally overcovered. There is always still, even today, with a lot of that energy overlap at the seams. I am more concerned about gaps than I am about overlaps in general. Overlaps I don't like as well, but gaps are really nerve-wracking because they are places where if you have a loose brick, a competitor can come in. And so we spend a lot more time on that. But we actually do have leaders who manage our lines of business, and then a lot of work to make sure that that they collaborate and team to not waste money and do the same thing twice. I'll take these three questions, and then I think I'll have to kind of wrap it up, right?
My name's Priscilla.
Priscilla.
Yes, the question has to do with leadership. You spoke about its importance. Have you continued to invest in leadership at Xerox, and what are some successful ways in which you've done that?
Yeah, it's absolutely continue to invest in it. I mean, some of the leadership investments and the thing that most people look at is how much money do you spend in coursework, that kind of stuff, and did you send them to this school or that school? We do that for sure. Some of the most useful, most effective ways that we invest in leadership is mobility. Giving them the chance, giving our future leaders today the opportunity to do things that you would not think that they could do today, but having them do that today. Do that on a global basis, do that in managing larger projects or larger teams. It's about giving people opportunities and about mobility. So having people out of their foxholes, out of their holes of expertise and kind of broad base. If you look at the management team and that I have right now, and it's first of all very diverse, amazingly diverse team. Women, the head of technology for our company, our chief technologist, she manages all research, development, and engineering, is a woman from Belgium. First of all, we actually moved her here, right? She moved here and worked here. For a couple of years, she worked in Canada. She spends a lot of time on a global basis assuring that she's always on top of things so that she can actually become a better leader in her area of expertise. So mobility is one way, and relevance, training but relevance, giving people a chance to do things and learn things by doing things, stretching them a little bit at a time. That's the way that I actually found it to be most effective for me. We also train. We also give people direction on courses to take and et cetera, but a lot of it is by doing and actually having people engage and develop leadership standards.
Hi, Ms. Byrne. My name is Bing, and
I know you.
Each other
Yeah, you gave me the paper on China. Thank you.
Yeah, and you've talked about the tough time of Xerox, and you've made lots of changes to drag the Xerox into a better situation. But we all know that if a company makes lots of changes in maybe a short time, the employees and even the leaders will disagree with these opinions and even object it. And so I wanted to know that during that time as a leader, how did you deal with these things? And I only want you to give me some maybe keywords to describe your strategies to deal with it.
Yeah, I think I talked about this a little bit. So the gist of the question is that when you make lots and lots of changes, you don't always have buy-in, and you can leave people behind, and they don't always agree. How do you get them to agree? How do you deal with that sense of unsettledness that you create when you make lots of changes? I talked about this. Number one, communicate. It's amazing. People are smart generally, right? And they are very concerned about themselves, but they're generally not very irrational. They're not irrational generally. And what we found generally, what we found was that, what we all found was that being clear and counting on people's intelligence, counting on their intelligence, counting on the fact that they can understand, if you explain to them that they can actually understand things, was one of the most important things that we did when we were going through a lot of changes, to communicate where we are today and the issue with where we are today, and then also communicate where we want to end up. Have some dialogue about where we want to end up and make sure people buy in and understand that. And then give them some path of how we're going to get from where we are today to where we're going to end up. By the way, they have to be a part of that path. We're not, there's not, one of the things that we found out for sure, and employees found out for sure, there's not an oracle sitting on the top of the building that can tell you the path, and if he was there or she was there, we wouldn't have been in trouble in the first place. So probably you don't want to actually just listen to that old oracle anyway. So we needed our employees to actually engage with us to help us understand a way to get from where we were to where we wanted to be. So communicating to them and engaging them in designing the solution. And then the third thing is, once you decide, the decision is made, let's go. So not a lot of, after you decide, let's just put down our head and start moving forward versus continually looking up and saying, do you really want me to go here? Do you really want me to go here? Let's start moving forward towards a solution. So.
Hi, my name is Daryl.
Earl.
I'm with this group over here.
Hi, what's the significance of this group over here?
This is mostly the Austin Entrepreneurship Program.
Ah, wonderful.
My question, first of all, I just wanted to tell you we're grateful to have you here. And,
Thank you.
It's really appreciated. I wanted to know, back during the troubled times of the company, were there any feelings of doubt and any feelings of you won't be able to bounce back or perhaps even lose the company? And if so, were there any ways to quell the fire?
So, no, we were always 100% confident that we could do this. Today, every day, I have a feeling of doubt about something in our company, every day. Back in the troubled times, of course, I had a feeling of doubt. The CEO of a company has a great statement that she and I would say to each other all the time, and we didn't mean it the way it sounds, but I'll say it. And she used to say to me, Ursula, but you can never let them see you sweat. And what she meant about that, was that I may have had a doubt about a tactic or an action that we were taking, but I never had doubt about whether or not we could be successful in the long term as a whole. I never had doubt about our company as a whole. I never had a doubt about the people being able to help us, our people being able to help us through the troubled times. I did have doubts for sure, and still do every day, as I said, about something that is happening, something that I'm doing, something that the team is doing for sure. So what the never make them see you sweat means is not never make them see you have doubt, but never make them, and if you do have doubt, that's that large, then maybe you shouldn't be where you are. And if you do have that doubt, move out before you can actually communicate that doubt to everyone. Because the point here is that we had a big endpoint vision, and that was a company that we knew could be a good company because it was a good company before, right? So we knew how this looked, we knew how it felt, so on. And I never had doubt we could get back there. Some of the decisions that we made, I absolutely had doubt about. Absolutely. So, but that's, I think we're human. You know? Do you have, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here, and thanks again to Ursula Burns for all of her wise words, and I think they're things for us to live by. So thank you again.